Now, I hope you've noticed I'm not using the term healthcare because the medical care system that's routinely practiced here in the U.S. doesn't promote health. It manages disease. Medical doctors are taught to name it, blame it, and tame it. They take your collection of symptoms and they call it a disease. And then they blame your symptoms on that disease, and then they want to tame it with drugs and surgery. Welcome to the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, where I help Christians opt out of the medical matrix and embrace a natural health lifestyle the way God intended. I'm your host, David Sandstrom, and this is episode number 175. I want you to know I've been working hard behind the scenes putting the new membership club together. I've decided on a name. This is the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Podcast, so the community is going to be called the Christian Healthy Lifestyle Community. Kind of makes sense, right? Inside the community, we're going to have a group of like-minded believers that want to embrace a more natural health lifestyle that's consistent with our God-given design. I'm planning on a private podcast, a newsletter, also a monthly live Q&A where you can ask me anything you want about health and wellness. I'll bring some guests on there when we do those as well. There'll be regular health challenges and a whole lot more. I encourage you to get on the wait list today. There's no obligation to be on the wait list, so go to my website, chlpodcast.com/membership, and secure your spot as a founding member. Founding members will get updates as the launch date approaches, and you'll lock in the lowest price that'll ever be available for a monthly membership, and your cost will never go up. You have my permission to pause this episode, sign up for the wait list, and come on back. I promise you I'll be waiting here for you. Now, the new tagline for the show is, I help Christians opt out of the medical matrix, cut through the noise, and embrace a natural health lifestyle the way God intended. In this episode, I'd like to unpack those statements a bit. Sometimes, before we can embrace a healthy lifestyle the way God intended, we've got to let go of our old ways of doing things. Now, many of you know I was an airline pilot for 35 years, and in airline training, we practiced ditching in the water. If an airliner has to ditch in the water, the plane will float for a while, but eventually it's going to sink. It's the crew's job to get everyone off the airplane and into the life rafts before it does. The rafts are tethered to the aircraft so they don't drift away during the evacuation. So after everyone is in the rafts, it's crucial that a crew member cut the tether to the plane. Otherwise, when the plane sinks, your life raft is going to go down with the ship. In the same way, the medical matrix is a sinking ship that leads to chronic disease and suffering. We've got to cut the tether to the sinking ship before we end up being its next victim. So what is the medical matrix? The medical matrix is a complex web of food conglomerates, the pharmaceutical industry, and the medical care system itself. The food conglomerates have made it very difficult on small farmers, and many of our small farms have gone out of business. Americans have become dependent on commercial farming practices that are proficient at making money, but those practices are making us sick. Genetic modification is common practice. GMO foods are resistant to the chemical glyphosate, which is a very toxic herbicide, and as a result, it's used liberally on our food and crops. Genetic modification of our food is a large-scale science experiment that no one knows the outcome to just yet. Processed foods are full of harmful ingredients like chemical food coloring, chemical preservatives, chemical flavoring, high fructose corn syrup, and highly processed seed oils. All of these ingredients are unnatural and are harmful to our health. These ingredients are allowed in our food supply because they won't kill us immediately, but the trouble is they're killing us slowly. The standard American diet is making us fat and sick. The second part of the medical matrix is the pharmaceutical industry. America represents just under 5% of the world's population, yet we consume 20% of the world's drugs. 7 out of 10 Americans are on one or more prescription drug. You might be saying, well, what's wrong with that, Dave? A lot of people benefit from those drugs and they need them. Well, here's the trouble. Drugs don't fix anything. They relieve symptoms by blocking or inhibiting natural bodily processes. Just look at the classifications. Antihistamines for allergies, beta blockers for high blood pressure, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors for depression and anxiety, H2 blockers for heartburn, or how about NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs? Inflammation is part of our immune response. Our bodies also use inflammation to repair damaged tissues. Turning off that process doesn't help us heal, it hinders it. Now, drugs do have their place. They're great with emergencies and acute conditions. Here's the problem. You don't have a headache because you have an aspirin deficiency. The third part of the medical matrix is the medical care system itself. Now, I hope you've noticed I'm not using the term healthcare because the medical care system that's routinely practiced here in the U.S. doesn't promote health. It manages disease. Medical doctors are taught to name it, blame it, and tame it. They take your collection of symptoms and they call it a disease. And then they blame your symptoms on that disease, and then they want to tame it with drugs and surgery. Now, I know that sounds a little tongue-in-cheek, and it probably is, but it's pretty close to exactly the way medical doctors are trained in medical school and residency. Medical doctors are looking for disease. If our ailments can't be categorized with a disease label, doctors don't have much for us. Medical doctors treat the illness that has the person. The natural practitioner treats the person that has the illness. There's a huge difference. I'm going to be talking more about that in the next episode. Now, let me say this. Medical care is great with emergencies and acute conditions, and it shines in the emergency room. If I get busted up in a car accident, man, roll me into the nearest emergency room, give me all the drugs and surgery you need to save my life. That's a perfectly appropriate use of the medical care system. So medical care shines in the emergency room, but after the emergency is over, that style of healthcare kind of loses its luster. Then we're better served when the emergency is over. We're better served with embracing natural health lifestyle habits that promote wellness. Now, doctors and hospitals do save many lives, but medical errors cause a lot of suffering and death. Doctors and hospitals are dangerous. According to Dr. Barbara Starfield of Johns Hopkins University Medical Center, 250,000 people die every year from iatrogenic or doctor-induced causes. Those causes include adverse reactions to properly prescribed medications, improperly prescribed medications, medical errors, unnecessary surgeries, and a lack of adequate nursing care in hospitals. That makes doctors and hospitals the number 3 cause of death in the United States, right behind heart disease and cancer. Think about it. 250,000 people a year is 684 people per day. That's the equivalent of 2 wide-body jet airliners crashing and killing everyone on board every day. If the aviation industry had that kind of a safety record, no one I know would get on an airplane, and the public would be screaming for reform. Yet that's every day in the medical field, and no one seems to be noticing. Now, I believe there's reason to be optimistic with Robert Kennedy as the Health and Human Services Secretary. He's very knowledgeable, and I think we could see some positive changes on the horizon from the federal level. But we all know we'd grow old waiting for Congress to enact reforms. We've got to be more proactive than that. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not implicating any individual. There's a lot of hardworking people in the medical field, and they're doing a near heroic job, and they have the right motives. It's the system those people are working under that I have a problem with. It's a system that's full of pride, ignorance, and greed, or what I sometimes say, pig for short, P-I-G. And these pigs are feeding off the trough of the $4.9 trillion Americans spend on medical care each year. That's far and away more than any other developed nation spends on medical care, and we're not getting our money's worth. If you compare the United States to other industrialized nations, we rank near the bottom on health outcomes. Our life expectancy is shorter, our infant mortality rate is greater. The system is failing us. Chronic diseases like obesity, type 2 diabetes, dementia, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and even heart disease and cancer are all on the rise. If medical care was doing such a good job, why is that the case? we've got to think outside the box. We've got to start doing things differently. And there is a better way. The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, the Apostle Paul is speaking, and he asks a rhetorical question. He says, "Do all possess gifts of healing?" The obvious answer is no. Then he goes on to say, "Earnestly desire the higher gifts, and I will show you a still more excellent way." A better strategy is to opt out of the medical matrix and embrace a natural health lifestyle the way God intended. A lifestyle that's more in harmony with God's natural design for spirit, mind, and body. Now, there's a lot to say on that. I'm going to be talking more about that in the next episode, but understand this for now. Human beings are a spirit, we have a mind, and we live in a body. And God has preferences as to how we treat each part of who and what we are. And when we do that, we can expect better health outcomes. The bottom line is this. If we eat the standard American diet, we embrace the standard American lifestyle, and we go see a standard American doctor, we can expect to suffer and die from the standard American chronic disease. We need to stop hoping that we don't get sick, and when we do, expecting the medical care system to solve our health challenges. We need to take the initiative and embrace a natural health lifestyle that's in harmony with God's design principles for living. When we do, we can expect to enjoy better health outcomes. Now, I know that sounds a little outrageous. That sounds really shocking to some people that I would say that. Well, consider this verse right here. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. "My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments, for length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you." Length of days and years of life. That verse is so consistent with my philosophy for health, it just blows me away. I've been saying for quite some time, when we embrace a natural health lifestyle the way God intended, we not only add years to our lives, but life to our years. By opting out of the medical matrix, we can dramatically reduce our chances of coming down with a chronic degenerative disease. When we do, we extend our health span. Our health span is the amount of years we spend free from chronic disease or disability. I believe Proverbs 3, 1 and 2 says exactly that. Now be sure to tune in next week, and I'll be talking more about what God's design is and how we can align our lives more fully with it. Now don't forget to get on the wait list from our Christian Healthy Lifestyle community. By getting on the wait list now, you'll be eligible to become a founding member, and I'll provide you with updates as launch date approaches, and you'll stay up to date. Go to my website, chlpodcast.com/membership. Get on the wait list today. There's no commitment to being on the wait list, but founding members will get the lowest price that'll ever be offered for a monthly membership, and your cost will never go up. That's it for now. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Go out there and live abundantly. I'll talk with you next week. Be blessed.